UFC is in WWE. UFC is in WWE. UFC is in WWE. UFC is in WWE.
UFC stands for Ultimate Fighting Championship, which is exactly what it sounds like. People fighting each other for money. Better acronyms for UFC include, but are not limited to, Unidentified Flying Cock, Uber for Carry, Until Figs Cry, United Flag Conference, Usually Friendly Cats, Unusually Friendly Cats, and so on and so forth. When I say UFC during this episode, just know that I mean Ultimate Fighting Championship, and not any of the other expansions of the acronym that I've just given you. Sources differ, but it would appear that the UFC has fights for 10/11 different weight classes. Now, weight classes doesn't refer to groups of muscly men learning how to lift weights. Unfortunately, it is a tool used to evenly match competitors. The names of these weight classes are, well, very clearly names created by people who hit each other for money. The lightest and least recognized weight class is the atom weight, with a 105-pound limit. False. An atom weighs 0.00000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000 19942 grams. And when 2 atoms collide, they just make a new, heavier element. Plus, atoms are invisible to the naked eye. It doesn't work very well for pay-per-view, does it? A straw weight, the class above atom weight, has an upper weight limit of 115 pounds. The average straw bale is 45 pounds. And while the name doesn't exactly specify bale, I suppose that could just be cosmetics. Straw bale weight doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. Either way, it's not what a straw bale weighs. Next comes flyweight, with an upper weight limit of 125 pounds. A fly weighs about 15 milligrams. How many flies would that take to reach 125 pounds? I guess we'll never know. For some reason, the official UFC rules and regulations have a bantamweight class from 125 to 135 pounds, and a women's bantamweight class for the same weight, but for women, because they need to be separated. You get the idea. Classes go all the way up to super heavyweight, which starts at 266 pounds and doesn't have a limit except for death caused by crippling obesity. The first UFC tournament, which was technically held before there was a UFC, was called something reasonable, topical, and completely representative of an 8-man single elimination tournament. Just kidding, they called it War of the Worlds. The program was passed over by both HBO and Showtime, but the Sports Entertainment Group went ahead and took a chance on them, after the UFC's only other options said no. And perhaps because they felt calling a square a ring was beyond even their suspension of belief, the soon-to-be UFC creators had a custom Octagon fighting arena made for War of the Worlds. You know, that single elimination fighting event that only one network would carry. That one. The Octagon actually had 8 sides, confusing boxing fans worldwide. The whole point of the show was to figure out which martial arts was best. Boxing, wrestling, karate? Well, the answer was jiu-jitsu. And that was that. With War of the Worlds over and jiu-jitsu reigning as the best martial art form, the founders went off in their own directions, creating championships through hard work and a keen eye before they lived out the rest of their lives in paradise on an octagon-shaped island in the Bahamas. Or they would have, if they didn't immediately sell out and franchise the fighting tournaments in partnership with SEG. So yeah, the UFC kept going with the tagline, "There are no rules." There were rules. I mean, they were just no biting or eye gouging, but still. It didn't take long for the event that was supposed to celebrate the individual martial arts to become a melting pot of punching and kicking, creating the mixed martial arts we all know and loathe today. All integrity left in the dust, along with the individual martial arts, the UFC had to warn audiences that the sport was extremely violent and probably shouldn't be watched by children or pregnant women, as they might get contact drunk from merely looking at a stadium full of alcohol-fueled meatheads. In a completely unshocking non-twist of events, John McCain, who was still old even in 1996, led a campaign to ban the UFC in the USA. There's some prisoner of war joke to be made here, but even for me, that's pushing it. Just know I could have made a joke here. Feel free to write yours down in the comments. Anyway, the campaign kind of worked since 36 states banned it. But good old Alabama came through so the UFC could still hold their championships. And that's probably the only time that the citizens of Alabama voted against the ideals of a Republican senator. Alabama, while great and everything, didn't really have the economy to sustain all of the UFC. So Studio Casino execs Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta went ahead and bought the nearly broke UFC for $2 million. There's no information anywhere that I can find that explains how they did this, but the Fertittas somehow managed to get the UFC fight sanctioned in Nevada, and with the help of Trump, MGM, and Fox, they were back in business. With one acronym just not cutting it, the guys in charge created a reality show to follow MMA fighters competing for the big contract called The Ultimate Fighter, or TUF. The show is basically cavemen living their daily lives, but instead of fighting over women and meat, they're fighting over pieces of paper and special tights. It was systematically rejected by every network they approached until they reached the pinnacle of entertainment. Spike TV. Spike let them make the show if UFC paid $10 million in production costs up front. One thing I don't understand is why didn't they bring any of their incredibly intimidating UFC fighters into the meeting with Spike? Would you say no to these guys? They don't have any rules. Well, I mean they have two, but you know what I mean. The show took off, and so did the pay-per-view fights, but it's a group of people who hit each other for money. You think it's gonna go well long term? Have you ever been hit in the head? How about twice a day for 6 years in a row? What do you think they're thinking about? Thinking? Women were allowed to participate in the UFC starting in 2012, the year the world was supposed to end, according to some rather non-accredited scientists and religious leaders. Imagine how disappointed the Fertitta brothers were when the world didn't end and they had to let the girls play with the boys after all. While all competitors fight shoeless, women are allowed to wear tops. What sexism? Female martial artists are also prohibited from wearing groin protectors just because they don't have dicks. Sexism again. All shorts the competitors wear have to be approved, either board shorts, biking shorts, kickboxing shorts, or other. How about these bad boys? Can I fight in these? Oh wow, Bobby, that's really sexist of you to make fun of those shorts. Oh yeah? Bam. And finally, the one person allowed to stop a match is the referee. They can take advice from the physicians present at every match, but that's all the power the doctors have. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Referees definitely have to be super qualified individuals to get the job after all. They have to go through rigorous training and... Oh, what? They only have to apply and pass a certification test? They don't need any prior medical training or anything? The names of these weight classes are, well, very clearly names created by people who hit each other for money. Yeah, guess it kind of makes sense.
Oh, you see that? His dick's flying off.